Your sister's wedding was flawless. Mom glowed across the dinner table, eyes sparkling with expectation. When will it be your turn? She asked, almost lightly. I took a slow sip of wine, smiled just enough, and said, it already happened. You just weren't there. The entire room stalled. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks froze halfway up. My name is Kel Monroe. I'm 32. And if you think this is a story about a forgotten invitation, stay with me, because the real betrayal isn't being excluded. It's realizing you were never part of the picture in the first place. The air around us shimmered with champagne and manufactured politeness. Dad shifted in his seat. My sister blinked rapidly, as if she'd wandered into the wrong script. You're joking, right? She said. I placed my glass down carefully. No. Mom stared at me like the words had slapped her. When? She whispered. 6 months ago, I said. Courthouse. Simple. Just us. No theatrics. Her face crumpled, disappointment mixing with disbelief. You didn't tell us. I shook my head. No. You were all too wrapped up in planning her perfect day. None of you even asked if I had someone in my life. And they hadn't, not once. When I got engaged, I kept it quiet. Not out of embarrassment, but out of self-preservation. I didn't want the comparisons, the scrutiny, the way they made me feel like an accessory to someone else's celebration. So Asher and I eloped. Just the two of us under a steel blue sky. No seating charts, no panic over centerpieces, no calls from Mom about linen colors. Afterward, I mailed them one photo, me in my dress, laughing, unfiltered joy. No one responded. So tonight, I handed them the truth. Bare. Final. My sister dropped her gaze. Mom swallowed her wine like poison. Dad finally said something real. Is he good to you? I nodded. Yes. Better than you were. After the plates were cleared and the room loosened its breath, Mom regained her usual performance. She leaned forward. You should have told us, she said with that practiced quiver. As your mother, I had a right to be there. I lifted a brow. A right? I turned to my sister. You didn't think I had a right to be at your wedding. Remember? And I remembered everything, the RSVP that never arrived, the mysteriously missed invitation, the morning of text that said, we figured you'd be too busy with work. But I hadn't been busy. I'd been sitting in my apartment alone watching photos of their perfect day spill across social media like confetti. My sister's bright smile. Mom's dramatic tears. Dad's glowing toast. I scrolled and scrolled, realizing they hadn't forgotten me. They simply didn't want me there. I was the background sister. The one expected to manage herself. The one whose choices always seemed too strange or inconvenient. So I carved out my own version of happiness. On a windy hilltop, with vows whispered. Into the breeze, Asher and I chose us, without an audience. I didn't post anything. I didn't need their approval. Now at the table, Dad exhaled, heavy with something like regret. Why didn't you tell me? He asked. I met his eyes. You didn't ask. No one did. You all only saw me when I fit the reflection you wanted. I'm done being your mirror. Across from me, I saw something shift in my sister's face, just a flicker, but real. She finally spoke. I didn't think you'd want to come, she murmured. You always make everything about you. That was rich. Coming from the woman who threw tantrums over flower shades and demanded 5 costume changes. I tilted my head. Not inviting someone and explaining it after the fact doesn't make it right. It makes it rehearsed. She winced. Mom stiffened. Dad pretended to study his fork as if it might shield him from the truth. I continued, not to hurt them, but to honor myself. I was never going to be the sister who posed perfectly in coordinated bridesmaid dresses or stood behind you to make your love story seem bigger. That's not fair, she said. Neither was watching you all celebrate while I sat alone wondering what I'd done wrong. Her lip quivered, but I didn't soften. Because it wasn't about the wedding. It was about years of edited memories. Years of being labeled dramatic for pointing out the obvious. Years of being told I was too intense, too loud, too much, yet somehow not enough to be included. Mom jumped in. Well, it's over now. Maybe we can move forward. I shook my head. That's the thing. I already have. Without you. Her expression shattered. I stood, folded my napkin neatly, and laid it down. I didn't come to blow anything up. I came to correct the record. I looked at my sister. You got the wedding you wanted. I looked at my parents. You got the daughter you celebrated. Then I smiled, soft but true. And I got the peace none of you ever offered. And then I walked out. Leaving behind the only seat I'd ever really been given, an empty one. 3 days passed. No texts. No calls. Just tactical silence, like they were waiting to see if I'd crawl back. Then Mom emailed. You blindsided us. Your sister is devastated. There was no reason for that scene. No reason. I stared at the screen. That scene was the first time I'd ever spoken without fear of their version of events swallowing mine. I didn't reply. But my sister did what she always did, performed. She posted a nostalgic wedding picture with the caption, "Some people watch. Some people disappear. Real love shows up." The comments poured in, friends cheering her on, distant relatives offering sympathy. A predictable wave of curated loyalty. I didn't flinch. They could spin whatever story they wanted. I had lived the truth. Meanwhile, Asher was folding laundry when I told him. He didn't demand explanations. He just came over, kissed my forehead, and whispered, "Do they even know your favorite flower?" They didn't. He did. Calla lilies. He planted them outside our rental 2 months before our wedding. Said, "Now your name lives in the garden." My family never wondered why we eloped. They never noticed how much lighter I became when I stopped performing daughterhood like it was a job with no pay. Life moved on until another email arrived. "Dad, this time. Just 5 words. Can we talk? Just us." I hesitated. Because sometimes the ones who stay quiet after your truth erupts are the ones who finally heard it. And sometimes they're just trying to pull you back before you realize how far you've stepped away. I breathed deep and typed, "We'll see." Dad chose a diner, neutral ground. The same one we'd go to after my violin recitals. He was already there when I walked in, hands clasped, coffee cooling. For a moment, he looked like the dad I remembered, steady, contained, unreadable. "I'm not here to take sides," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "You already have." He nodded. "I know." Silence stretched thin between us. Then he said, "You getting married without telling us, it hurt." I didn't blink. "You not asking where I was the day of her wedding, that hurt too." He looked down at his cup. "I didn't realize how far things had gone," he murmured. "Between you and your mother. You and your sister." I let it sit. "Dad, nothing went anywhere. It stayed exactly where it always was, uneven." He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled a photo from his coat and pushed it toward me. It was the one I'd mailed. Me and Asher, windswept, laughing. My dress spinning like I was caught mid-freedom. "I kept this," he said. "Even when your mother said it was disrespectful." My throat tightened. When I'd sent that picture, my hands had trembled. "One small olive branch. One last try. I didn't know how to reach you," he added. "Not without her listening." I leaned back. "Then don't reach for me until you're willing to stop whispering around her." His face softened. "I miss you." I folded the photo and tucked it into my purse. "I'm not lost, Dad. I just stopped walking in your direction." He nodded. No excuses. No persuasion. And maybe for the first time, he understood. I hadn't abandoned the family. I simply stopped waiting for them to meet me halfway. 2 days after the diner, Mom appeared at my doorstep. No warning. No invitation. She didn't even knock. She waited in her car like a lawyer prepping closing arguments, sunglasses on, jaw set like granite. I opened the door slowly. She stepped out, arms crossed, lips pursed. "I suppose your father told you I was the villain now." I didn't answer because villains don't always wear black. Sometimes they wear pearls and speak in sighs instead of slurs. "I raised you better than this," she said. "Did you?" I replied calm. She exhaled. "You embarrassed us. You humiliated your sister." "No," I said. "I answered your question. You asked when it would be my turn. I told you. And that scene at dinner was honesty." I cutin'. The silence swelled. A war without noise. Then she stepped closer. "You've always needed too much," she whispered. "Too much validation. Too much space." I felt that line hit where it was meanto. But this time, it didn't land because she didn't know. I'd already unpacked that wound with Asher in therapy in the stillness of a marriage she never asked about. I looked at her the way you look at a painting you once loved and now see for what it really is, technique without truth. "You didn't lose your daughter," I said. "You just lost the version you controlled." She blinked. "You think you're better than us now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm just done bleeding for the applause you never gave me." She didn't cry. She turned, walked back to her car, engine started. No wave, just taillights fading down the street. Andy closed the door without guilt. Because not every ending needs a slam. Some need silence and a lock. A week later, the wedding album arrived. Not mine, my sister's. A thick cream-colored envelope with gold embossing and the Monroe family crest etched in the corner. No note, just the album sent to me like a peace offering or a provocation. Asher watched me slit it open at the kitchen counter. "Sure you want to do this?" He sked gently. I nodded. Sometimes closure isn't about what you want to see, but what you're finally ready to face. The first few pages were predictable. Dress fittings, champagne flutes. Dad walking her down the aisle, then came the reception. Mom mid-toast, eyes glassy with pride. A long scripted quote about daughters, dreams, and destiny. Then one image made me freeze. A family portrait. Everyone lined up, smiling, poised. And there it was. My name written under the photo, except the body standing there wasn't me. It was my cousin from Vermont. Same height, same dark hair, wearing a dress suspiciously similar to one I once wore to a graduation. They passed her off as me, framed it, labeled it, posted it on Linny as if presents could be faked. As if truth was just a caption away from revision. Asher stood behind me, jaw tight. They replaced you, he said quietly. In pictures. No, I whispered, they erased me and didn't think it. I slid the album back in the envelope. Didn't hear it. Didn't scream. I simply wrote one word across the front in permanent marker. Return. Dropped it in the mailbox the next morning. No note inside, no explanation. Because when someone deletes you from the frame of your perfect story, you stop being the background and start being the author of your own. You said they never responded, not to the returned album, not to the message written across the envelope, not of the unspoken truth inside it. And that silence, it didn't ache. It clarified. I stopped waiting for the apology that would never come. The revision that would never be printed. Instead, I started building something off me own. Asher, and I found a little venue by the lake. Nothing fancy, just a wide porch, twinkle lights, and space for 30 chairs. We called it a celebration of honesty, not a second wedding, not a do-over, just a gathering of the people who actually showed up, old friends, colleagues, 2 neighbors who brought homemade pie. No seating chart, no expectations, no relatives needing emotional babysitting. And when I stood in front of those 30 souls and read our vows again, but this time aloud, I didn't tcry. I breathed. Because healing isn't always poetic. Sometimes it's just honoring what was real in front of those who never made you earn love like a prize. Afterward, someone asked if my family was coming. I smiled gently. No, they already attended a wedding, just not mine. That night, back at home, I took the last box down from the closet, old cards, framed quotes from Mom, Aberdesmade dress I never wore. I placed it all in a bag, not with rage, with relief, and dropped it off at the donation bin on 7th Street. A girl in line behind me said, "That's a really pretty dress." I turned and smiled. It was never really mine. And as I walked away, lighter than I'd felt in years, I realized family isn't who shares your name. It's who never has to ask twice where you were when it mattered.